fifth grade teacher, Miss Mary Spencer, and Dick Weiss from the St. Louis Press Club. All right, Avita, so how did you go about finding your fifth grade classmates? Had you stayed in touch with any of them?
There were two that I really stayed in touch with, Brianne Jones and Ashley Westbrook. Other than that, there were a couple of other that I hadn't seen since like 2000 or 2001.
Right.
So I kind of went through the Missouri court system to see if I can find anybody. Facebook, I looked all over Google, and I asked around the old neighborhood, contacted some classmates who weren't in our class, but were at the school to see if they remembered. So that pretty much sums up.
And so you did an exhaustive search, and how many did you find?
You know what? I found 6.
6?
Yes.
Which is a pretty low number, I would say.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Out of how many kids were in the class?
I think it started out about close to 30.
30 people.
Right.
And you can only find 6 15, 16 years later.
Right. And what we also tried to contact the St. Louis Public Schools District to see if they could help us. However, they said they didn't have those records from then. So.
Yeah. Did you find out numbers, like how many of them graduated from high school, or how many went on to college, or how many stayed in the system?
You know what, we didn't. I actually was told that records from then were damaged, so they weren't
what
able
we
to
do
be.
know is that in Avita's class, in Vashon, the graduation rate was I think less than half. Mm-hmm. In other words, the freshmen who started out, only half got to graduation day.
Right.
And then of those who did graduate, about 45% went to a 4-year college program.
Mm-hmm.
So the ones who graduated and went on. The ones who didn't graduate, who knows what happened to them.
Right.
Yeah.
So compare that to Clayton. This is 63106 zip code, Clayton 63105.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Clayton's graduation rate is in the high 90s. So going on to 4-year college is in the high 90s. So the playing field is not level.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. What some of the kids you found? What were they doing?
They had some. Well, we all had some bumps in life that we had to get over, like everybody. But one particular young lady, Kiana Jones, she was in a culinary school, and she was working at River City Casino during the day. So she worked during the day, and she went to school in the evening. And Brianne Jones was actually working in the military. She had just recently joined the military. She's back in school now as well. Ashley Westbrook she is working at the St. Louis County Highway Transportation Department, and she's back in school.
And she's working on a master's degree.
Yes, she's working on her master's. And Raymond Weber actually tried out for the NFL. He tried out for a few NFL teams. He made it, but he got injured, so he was out for a while, and he's had a pretty tough time trying to get back in, but he's not giving up on that, so I commend him for that. And there was one particular student that kind of didn't really want to be found, so I wasn't really able to find out what really...
Was there only one boy?
There were two. Howard Small was... What was he doing at the time? He was working with Fund Services in St. Charles County, and he and his fiance were living out that way. So he was actually going through some issues with child support, and he's kind of getting back.
He was a really interesting kid. He was the one I focused on 15 years ago. He was a little bit like the canary in the coal mine because he was really smart, really a kind of adorable little guy.
Right.
He was aptly named Howard Small. And he was an avid reader. He got Mary got him interested in the Harry Potter books, but then he kind of went off the rails a little bit in high school. He was a football star on the one hand, but he was also got involved in some gang activity. He got shot at one point, and then he had child support issues, and then he kind of straightened his life out.
Right.
And he's now engaged to be married. He's very
family.
present in his kid's life, and we asked him, like, what is it that drew you back? And he credited Mary Spencer as somehow that was a touchstone for him.
That's got to make you feel good.
It does.
Yeah. Yeah.
It does.
Yeah. Avita, going through the program, remembering the original interview that Dick Weiss did, going back and seeing what happened to the kids. You're in a unique position as somebody who studied communications, who studied journalism, but also you're the story here. So you're in a unique position here to sort of put this into words.
Right.
disappointed, sad, excited? What as you did this?
Right.
It's heartbreaking in a sense.
It is.
But what are your thoughts as you do this?
Well, at the end, and Channel 9 actually posed this question to me, I feel like it's something that we keep going through over and over again. And I feel like, where are we continuously missing the mark that we can't bring these urban and inner city schools up to par with funding? When I did the interview with the superintendent, he told me about all these efforts that are going on.
Kelvin Adams.
Yes, Kelvin Adams.
Okay.
He told me about so many efforts that were going on in the schools, from help from the local universities, the corporations, parental support, and I'm just kind of, I don't know. I feel like, where's the mark being continuously missed?
You didn't have that support when you went to high school that Kelvin Adams is talking about today.
I actually did. There were a couple of programs that I was in. One was Friends with a Better Plan, and we had the Gear Up program going on for a while, which funded part of my college education. But there were also some that were no longer in existence.
You told me something off the air that was really interesting.
Right.
And that was, you said that the neighborhood you grew up in was called
The Village.
The Village.
Yes.
Explain that. What do you mean by that?
Well, it consisted of Carr Square Village, Fallon Place Apartments, Murphy Park Apartments, just the area around Cass, 16th, 14th. That whole particular area was called The Village. And it was called The Village because everybody knew everybody. Everybody worked together. And, many of the people who lived in that area also went to Jefferson School. So we called it The Village because we knew that if we needed something, we had an aunt or an uncle or somebody that lived nearby that we can depend on. And I think that's something that we are missing a lot in our communities, and it's something that I would like to see us get back into.
So in 2015, that village doesn't exist anymore. I
actually don't live in the area anymore, so I'm not sure exactly how tight-knit it is. I know that Carr Square Village is still pretty tight-knit, but there are some issues that go on.
Right. So when there was a problem, the village handled it.
Right.
You didn't necessarily go to the police. You didn't go to your alderman.
Right.
You didn't go to the media.
Right.
You went and kept it in the village.
Yes.
Now, you laughed when I said your alderman.
I don't recall if the alderman lived down there, but a lot of the things that we did handle within the village, and we would have pool parties up at the tennis court. It's just something that we really kept in the community.
Right.
But there's another figure involved here as part of the village, which is really interesting. Richard Barron owned, or his company owned and operated a lot of the units there. Right. And he was the guy who led the effort to put all these resources into Jefferson School. And it was enlightened self-interest, you might say. He knew that school was thriving, then his neighborhood would thrive, and he is still there and active, and just
it's over by Saint Stanislaus over there, and if you drive over there, there's some very nice housing stock over there, and that's that Richard.
And
Barron
they just
area.
opened an early childhood center through Richard's efforts as well, and so that's the real hope for the next generation. Is that you start early with these children, that they will, as Mary said, if they come in and they don't know how to read, they're at a deficit. Now maybe these kids will come in really ready to go.
Yeah, but it's kind of funny, if something happens in Clayton, you call the police, right? You call your alderman, you call the media. In the village, they either don't know that exists or don't believe that the media, the police, the alderman, the mayor will answer to them. So they go to inside the village. Does that make any sense?
That kind of sums it up. We know to call the police when something bad happens. However, when it comes to really getting the community to work together, that starts within the community.
Right. Yeah.
Even your alderman can only do so much.
Yeah. But you said though that the village maybe not that village doesn't exist or does exist, but you were mentioning that the lack of community is less today than it was when you were growing up.
In my opinion, it is, yes. Yes.
Interesting. Mary Spencer.
Yes.
I'm going to give you the floor. 41-year public school teacher, 5th grade teacher. What do you want St. Louis to know in this conversation about schools and kids and failing schools and trying to save these kids?
Oh, You got till tomorrow.
I got as much time as you want to give me.
Okay. 41 years at the same school, Jefferson School, at 1960, was close to the Board of Education's office that was on, oh goodness. Okay, we'll come back to, I know, 9/11 Locust.
Okay.
Therefore, for people coming in town, they were brought to Jefferson as a show school. Jefferson's teachers, the first teachers, were handpicked. So you had a special group of teachers. Excuse me. The principal that opened the school, William C. Wyatt, taught us that we were a family. And that included the custodial staff, the lunchroom staff, everybody. And the children were to respect the staff. We did field trips. We exposed the children to things that there's a strong possibility that they would not have been exposed to. One just before spring break, that a group of, I taught 7th and 8th grade reading too. We departmentalized. Jefferson originally went from kindergarten to through 8th grade. We went to Washington, D.C., New York to see Annie, and they did hold the play for us because something was going on, caused us to be late. Niagara Falls. These are things that basically your city school children didn't get a chance to do at that time. Memphis, Tennessee, to visit a school and to compare that school to our school. Plays. There were always something going on that involved the children that made them want to come to school.
You'd have a Thanksgiving dinner and you'd teach them the proper etiquette.
We did breakfast.
Which fork to use and all that.
That and they had to cook from scratch until the oven went out.
But you're saying very different in 1960 as opposed to when you retired in 2005.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very different.
All right, Avita, what do you want the people to take from this series?
Well, I would hope that they could take that there's still a lot of work to do in our urban and inner city schools.
True.
That we, a lot of it is going to be up to us. Outside support, I think, is great, especially, when you are in an area where income levels are lower than normal. But it's so much that we can do with the little resources that we have, and I don't think that we know that enough to know that, every little bit counts when it comes to this.
Why did you make it? And so many of your classmates did not.
You know what? I always tell people that I am a product of everywhere that I've lived. I'm a product of everybody who's come into my life. And there was actually one point, I will admit, that when I went to SLU that I was embarrassed to say I was from North St. Louis. And, people would always say, where did you go to high school? And I'm like, oh, God, here's this question again. Because I was afraid of what people thought about people that came from Vashon. And it wasn't until like my junior year there that I really started to become proud of it, because now I know that I have something that I could take back to my community and show them, and and give them the knowledge that a lot of people there may not have.
So you were proud to come back home?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Again, I'm going to ask you that question though. Why did you make it? What did you do? Was it your parents? Was it your teachers? Was it what? Why did you stay on the straight and narrow when it was so hard to do?
It was my parents, it was my teachers, and it was my friends. And I always kept mentors in my life. I was the youngest grandchild, so I've always kept, people who were much older than me in my life who could kind of tell me, okay, watch what you're doing over there, or, give me the knowledge that I needed in order to make it. So I'm just a collection of a lot of people who touched my life.
It's a series that was put on by the St. Louis Post-Dispatch that is going to appear on Sunday.
Right.
And then the St. Louis American is going to be
June
next
11th.
week.
Thursday, June 11th.
And it's up right now. And what's the website?
JeffersonAllGrownUp.com. Jefferson.com.
Jefferson.allgrownup.com.
No, Jefferson allgrownup.
Jefferson.allgrownup.com. And it's a story, it's 17 years in the making, 16 years in the making. Dick Weiss started off with a story in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, 1999, and they've done a follow-up, and you can read about it. Avita Caldwell, Miss Mary Spencer, and Dick Weiss, thank you very much for telling us a great story.
Thank you.
You got it.
And don't forget to get the hard copies, too, even if you go to the website.
There's old school right
That's
there.
right.
940 KTRS.
Let's head out to the roads with Ed Smarin at the Golden Oak Lighting Traffic Center. Ed?
Going to see slow traffic on eastbound 270 from Lilac to Riverview Drive. That's because of the road work at the Chain of Rocks Bridge on 64 southbound. Traffic a little tight at the Missouri end of the Poplar Street Bridge. And then 55 northbound before Butler Hill, right lane closed with road work. Going to last till 3 o'clock. Traffic brought to you by Ortho Deer Be Gone Repellent. Ortho Deer Be Gone Repellent keeps animals from destroying the plants in your garden. And the No Stink formula works without smelling horrible. Learn more about how Deer Be Gone lives up to its name at ortho.com. From the Golden Oak Lending Traffic Center, I'm Ed Smarin on the Big 550 KTRS.
Dry weather today, and we're getting a little bit warmer. Highs near 80 degrees this afternoon with a partly cloudy sky. We'll stay dry. And dry tonight, 66 for the overnight low. Tomorrow looks okay, mid-80s, but we'll watch for a few storms coming in Thursday night into Friday. Same deal Friday night into Saturday, a few scattered storms. I'm Fox 2 meteorologist Glenn Zimmerman for the Big 550 KTRS.
64 cloudy skies right here at the Big 550 KTRS.
This is McGraw Live on KPLR 11.2 STL Today.